Hi guys, it's Mark Zickery, Mr. Sci-Fi, and you may notice that I am in a spacesuit. Well, today we're going to talk about some of the recent acquisitions of Space Command Studios. This spacesuit was worn on the Red Skelton show back in the 60s, and it is a spacesuit from a comedy show from that period, and it is pretty cool. So here's the clothes. And I can show you more wonderful things. We're shooting Space Command, the final 2 days of Forgiveness, tomorrow and the day after. The shoot on Elaine's film went great. We're going right into shooting The Great Solar War, the next episode of Space Command. If you want to buy shares, markzickery@gmail.com. You'll get a portion of my producer's net profits. But meantime, I'll show you some of these wonderful things. As you know, we have a space in our studio filled with spaceship sets, spacesuits from various productions, all sorts of stuff. So this is a very cool addition to that, particularly since I'm a historian of science fiction, and I love this stuff that would be totally forgotten if we didn't have a chance to popularize it. So this is really, really cool and fun. So out of the spacesuit now. They're hot, you sweat a lot. So recently Heritage Auctions had an auction, naturally. What else would they be doing? And there were a few items that I thought were really special. Now, as you know, in Space Command, what I like to do is have visual Easter eggs that are from previous science fiction TV shows and movies as sort of a way of providing the audience with something fun and also acknowledging the wonderful history of science fiction, film, and television. As the author of The Twilight Zone Companion, of course, I'm deeply steeped in 1950s TV and also know the history that goes prior to that and also forward from that. And so it's always fun to find some of these rarities. Now, that spacesuit from the Red Skelton show, I didn't even know existed. But let me show you a couple of other items that we got that we'll be adding to Space Command and the Space Command collection. And they're really quite something. The two big science fiction shows in the 1950s were Tom Corbett's Space Cadet and Space Patrol. There were other shows as well, but those were the two big ones. And Tom Corbett's Space Cadet had a very different tone from Space Patrol. I actually prefer Space Patrol, but I've never had anything that was used on Tom Corbett's Space Cadet before. And this is a female uniform from Tom Corbett's Space Cadet, screen used. And it's very cool. You see this great rocket ship with a lightning bolt emblem and these cool metal studs on the neck and also on the wrists. Cool and distinctive and well designed. Now, as opposed to having a skirt, this has slacks. So it went with a belt, and it was very visually striking. Now, at the same time, Space Patrol had this. Now, that is not a shirt. That is actually a dress, because the actresses who wore this, they had things and lots of legs and boots, and it was very sexy. And so that's actually a dress that was worn by the character named Tonga, one of the lead females. There was Carol Carlisle and Tonga, she started out as a villain and then became a heroine. And I actually met her, and she was a wonderful lady. She wrote a couple of privately printed volumes of Space Patrol memories, and I have both of those signed by her. And but this is quite a rarity. This is such a rarity that the auction house didn't even know what it was from. They said unknown science fiction production, but I knew what it was. It was Tonga's dress from Space Patrol. So I now have the female outfit from both Tom Corbett Space Cadet and Space Patrol. Really cool. Now, one of the great travesties from the early days of film and TV is there was no sense by the people making these wonderful artworks, and I mean the film and the TV show as works of art. The executives didn't understand that. They were just dollars and cents kind of guys, and as a result, many of the wonderful props and costumes and sets that were made were destroyed, were thrown away, or otherwise put to the torch. And I was very aware of this when I wrote The Twilight Zone Companion in my early 20s, because when I went to CBS to find out if they had anything from Twilight Zone in their archives or files, they had nothing. And it's very rare that you find anything from Twilight Zone. So I'm proud to have a few items in my collection. But there are other items that have an amazing history. And in some cases, these were just told to me. So I know about it. So my friend Greg Jean who passed away sadly about a year ago. He was one of the great model makers of Hollywood. He built the mothership in Close Encounters. He built the city in Blade Runner, many other wonderful, wonderful things. But he was also a collector. And so recently they auctioned off a number of items from his collection. Now, of course, one of my favorite films of all time is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I've had the great joy of meeting both Gary Lockwood and Keir Dullea, the two stars of that film, and I've been talking to Keir Dullea about being in Space Command. We'll see how that goes. But it was a groundbreaking film. You have no idea what the impact of that film was like. There had been nothing that had come before it. And for us in 1968, when it debuted, when I was a kid, we felt we were getting a postcard from the future. We thought that was what our future was going to be: space stations in orbit, trips to the moon, and manned missions to the outer reaches of the solar system. Interestingly enough, they have Keir Dullea in an old age makeup in 2001, and that's not what he looks like. So that's pretty interesting. But one of the great, iconic visual items of that film was the spacesuit design. My two favorite spacesuits in any film or TV show are the spacesuit from Alien that Mobius designed, which is superb, and the spacesuit in 2001. And the spacesuit in 2001 came first because 2001 was 1968, Alien was 1979. So Greg Jean told me that one day he would, and Kubrick ostensibly had ordered everything destroyed after 2001 completed filming, so that there wouldn't be, they wouldn't be cropping up in crappy movies, with his props and his sets and so forth. But every now and then we find that not all of it was destroyed. For instance, at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences Museum here in Los Angeles, they have some very cool items from 2001, some of which I didn't know had lasted, were still in existence. But the one great item is, of course, the spacesuit. Now, interestingly enough, 2001 was shot out of order, and so they built the spacesuits for this Discovery section where they were in various colors: red, green, yellow, etc. And both the helmets and the suit. Then they shot the sequence on the moon, which comes earlier in the movie. So they had to take those colored spacesuits and repaint them so that the helmets would be white and the spacesuit silver. And they changed the decals on the helmet and the suit to reflect the fact it was Clavius on the moon rather than the Discovery mission. So one day, Greg Jean, decades later, Greg Jean is, or maybe just years later, whenever, Greg Jean is working at MGM, and that day, the word had come on high that the executives had ordered some of the maintenance staff to empty out a storage room and just throw everything out. So Greg Jean looks over at the dumpster as these guys are doing this, and sitting on top of the dumpster is the entire spacesuit from 2001, both the helmet and the suit. So, of course, that was auctioned off by Heritage not long ago, and it was auctioned off for close to $1 million. So obviously that's not going to be in the Space Command collection. But because Greg was not only a brilliant model maker and a brilliant collector of science fiction artifacts, when he got that helmet, he made a duplicate of it. He made a replica of it, and it is this. Look at this thing. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Now it's filled with paper now, and you can see the, let's see if I can get it on camera, the Clavius decals. And this is just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And so interestingly enough, I also own a spacesuit, a 2001 style spacesuit that was made for a commercial that was made after 2001 was made. And so I'm going to take that spacesuit and this helmet and make myself a 2001 spacesuit, and which will be on exhibit, on display at Space Command Studios someday hence. But so that was the real prize of that auction for me. To be able to get that was really quite wonderful. So so that's the main stuff for now. As I said, we're shooting the last 2 days of Space Command Forgiveness. Then we go right into shooting Great Solar War. We're continuing to shoot Elaine's film Voiceless Roar. Please tell your friends about Mr. Sci-Fi, and subscribe, notify, ding the bell, comment, all the things you normally do. And again, from the wonderful world of science fiction that we all share, thanks so much for everything. And we're going to have some Kickstarter campaigns coming up in the near future. And your help, as always, is greatly appreciated. And again, if you want to find out about Space Command shares, just email me at marksecret@gmail.com. They're $7,500 each. And between Kickstarter and selling investment shares, that's what's funding all of what we're doing. So thanks so much for everything. And we'll talk again real soon. Bye, guys.